Hello, everyone. My name is Tauseef Israr, your host at Apex Voices, where we sit down with industry leaders to uncover their insights, lessons, and strategies for success. It is a pleasure to introduce our guest today. Moeed Israr is a director of technology of consulting for North America at Solis Corporation, where he is leading the engineering services for manufacturing and AI-based transformation and innovative solutions. Hi, Moeed. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tauseef. It's a pleasure to be part of this program.
You're very welcome. Moeed, let's talk about your early career. When you started your career, what originally inspired you to pursue a career focused on driving transformation and innovation?
Thank you, Tauseef. It's a fantastic question. I started off as a technology, in engineering. Very early in my career, I realized there were a number of projects that would go sideways, that would not fulfill the initial objectives of how the leaders would see them initially. And it was consistent across several companies. So that basically helped me understand that there was an issue. There was a disconnect between business and technology. And to overcome that technology and business disconnection, I started to learn more and more about business issues and business drivers. And eventually I specialized in strategy and looking forward to transformations and making sure that they deliver to the KPIs the leaders set out.
Perfect. So, when you think about your professional journey, what key experiences shaped how you lead the change today?
Yeah, so one of my key learnings was at one of the tier one banks. It was a bank merger between a tier one and tier two bank. Several components, systems were being integrated. Very soon we realized that the program was being run as a software development project. It may have been a small project initially, but it had mushroomed. And so we had to take a step back and we had to really understand the business drivers and the business use cases to figure out how the technology is going to fit into this picture. So starting with technology first, bad idea. You have to look at the business and you have to see how the technology can make it.
No, that's quite insightful. Technologists like ourselves, we tend to put technology at the forefront, where we do have to realize that it's the business that drives the overall priority of what we are trying to do. When we talk about business, operations is one of the key aspects of business, and transformation is a guiding factor for that. How do you define meaningful transformation, and what distinguishes it from simply improving operations?
Exactly. So when we look at technology, it can be a catalyst for change. At some point, the technology matures and everybody adopts. But if you take a step back, you have to look at the processes. You have to look at the business objectives and where the business is going, where the sector is going. And you have to also look at the maturity and the ability of the company and the people and the culture to be able to accept that change. So you have to bring all of that together as you incorporate the technology and lead the change. Doing technology on its own, it can provide you with benefits. But if you can combine the business and the technology aspects, you can receive or reap exponential gains.
So when we talk about leading teams through uncertainty is one of the key focus areas. So how do you help people stay confident and engaged as you lead them through transformation?
It's a very good question. Transformation can be worrisome for some. Some people are comfortable in the way they are doing things, in the way they have done things. So it's very important to be transparent. It's very important to be truthful in terms of what is that you're trying to achieve and how you're trying to achieve that. Every plan, every execution has its challenges. I've yet to encounter one that does not have challenges. It would be simply too easy a project, or not enough rewards would be reaped if there are no challenges. So it comes down to establishing that trust with the people and being transparent and bringing them along for the journey.
Transparency and trust is key, and it all boils down to culture, and culture being central to transformation. I wonder, what practical steps do you take to make that culture?
The cultural aspect is very important. In a way, you're moving a mountain, but you don't want to crush the people who are living beside the mountain or helping you move that mountain. So you have to be able to bring them along, and you have to work with the right kind of people with the right skill set and the ability to handle the change. At the same time, you bring along the people who are not ready for change. So it's at the end of the day, it's managing people, managing who is ready for the change and then who is not ready for the change and why. You have to understand their concerns. And a lot of times, those concerns are very valid and they need to be addressed. And those are for the betterment of the company itself.
Talk about leadership philosophy when challenges arise and the path isn't clear. What is your leadership philosophy?
Right. If the path is not, I think there is the biggest factor here would be having people's trust, being transparent and taking smaller steps, and be able to go back and fix if something is not working or you are having issues in a certain path. We have to course correct. And having a big bang approach typically does not work. You have to be able to do this piecemeal, demonstrate small successes, and use that as a snowball effect to achieve the larger goal. So trying to outsource that entire transformation usually doesn't work. Having the right kind of people with the right kind of plan, having smaller steps, smaller rewards, smaller milestones would help you achieve that.
So, how do you balance empathy with accountability when leading through significant change?
Right, great question. So accountability is the key. You have to be able to define your key success parameters. You have to define your goals, what you're trying to achieve and why. It's critical. Otherwise, people don't know where you're heading. Just imagine going on a vacation with a few friends, but you don't decide on the destination city. Chances are you're not going to end up in the same city. Similarly, having organization goals, the vision for the transformation is very, very important. At the same time, if people are not ready, some people are not ready, you have to understand why and what are those factors that driving that fear or uncertainty. You have to be able to sit down and have that conversation with them and see if you can address those concerns.
What's your approach to aligning transformation goals with broader organizational strategy?
Right. Excellent question. The organization goals have to be aligned with the transformation. It has to fold under the vision of the organization. If you're heading in a different direction, eventually the cracks will form and someone in the senior management will not be excited about the change. Or even the people. People will notice that we are heading in the wrong direction. As a culture, some of the factors will fail. If that's cultural, or it could be on the technology side, or on the business, or the process. If things are not aligned at the top and not organized in a way that makes sense and logical, you will have issues down the road.
That's right. So when we talk about transformation and success while doing a transformation, how do you measure success? What indicators matter most to you?
All right. So these indicators in terms of success, I usually help define those indicators upfront. We have to define these indicators as part of the business case. If you don't define these indicators, though, you lose your objectives, the way you want to go or where the destination is. In terms of aligning them, if you don't align them, then obviously you will have issues down.
Can you recall a time when a transformation initiative didn't go as planned, and how do you turn the situation around?
Yes. So again, I'll go to the example of the bank merger. No, it did not go well initially. So, and as soon as we realized it, we took measures to pause the program at a very critical phase and go into a replan. We realized what the issues were and we put in the right kind of processes and the rigor that's needed for a transformation. So if you're running a large merger as a software development effort, it's not going to work. So we had to put in the right kind of business constraints and controls, as well as the rigor, both on the business side and the technology side, to make sure they come together to deliver the piece that intended to be delivered.
That's interesting. So how do you ensure that innovation efforts stay grounded in real business impact and not just experimentation?
Right. So I typically recommend, so in our case, we work with large manufacturers, tier 2 and tier 1 manufacturers. If typically a transformation is successful, we are looking to achieve a significant amount of savings for the company from a money perspective, from a design perspective, design cycle reductions, warehousing costs, you name it. So in order to achieve these, we have to make sure that we start small, typically with a POC, a proof of concept, and then we work our way through and define milestones that are achievable. If we need to set up more of an agile methodology, that would make sense. We do that. If it needs to be more in the projectized, we would do that as well. So it really depends on the situation and on the culture of the team that's working with us. So again, I would go back to the culture. You have to understand your clients. You have to understand the culture, what kind of processes, what kind of maturity that exists within the organization. And then you work within that context.
Right. So when you're working with customers, you're working with a team that's implementing a major transformation project. Trust is one of the key building blocks. So how do you build trust with key stakeholders who might be skeptical about change at the beginning?
Right. Small steps. You must understand their concerns, must engage and have a conversation with them, where they're coming from. Just simply ignoring, it's not realistic. And if you cannot mitigate those issues or those risks, then those will become issues down the road. So again, having those measurable steps, as well as having that conversation and slowly establishing that trust. It takes time. Cannot walk in one day and establish trust. You have to demonstrate that you can deliver on the piece that you said you will deliver, and then you move forward from there.
So when you're working with a team, obviously it's a cross-functional team, and cross-team collaboration needs to be there. So what does the cross-team collaboration play in sustaining transformation momentum over time? What's your views on this?
Yes, great question. If you have a cross-functional team, it basically means you have different kinds of voices. So that's in a way diversity. Having a diverse team really adds value in terms of not getting into a herd mentality. So that helps. And if you are able to listen to where they're coming from and address their concerns as well, because as a whole, the organization functions. Every cross-functional team has its function. And if you don't bring them along, your key critical piece is one of those key critical pieces will fail. So you have to be able to make sure that you address their concerns and you bring them along with you.
Great answer. So looking back, what would you say has been your greatest leadership lesson from driving organizational change?
It's the success that we achieved again at the merger. That's initially it started off as a challenging program, but we ended up putting in the right kind of rigor and control, and we established a lot of trust and friendships along the way. And when we delivered, it was seen as a big success. And I look fondly at that as one of the biggest successes.
And lastly, what advice would you give to emerging leaders who want to make transformation a part of their career journey?
Yeah, so learn. Be open to change yourself. Surround yourself with people who know more than you, and be willing to learn and adapt and change. There will be challenges, and there'll be different challenges every single time. So there is no one playbook for transformation. Yes, with experience and with the number of projects under your belt, you will be better able to handle and manage some of the challenges that come your way. But as a young person who is aspiring to be in transformation, throw yourself in these situations and do the best that you can and learn from your lessons, and then you'll see yourself fly.
Thank you so much, Moeed, for being here and giving us your valuable time.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.